Did you know that most drownings occur within a few feet of safety? And that in 90% of those cases, the victim was not wearing a personal flotation device? The TWRA reminds us it just makes good sense to wear your life jacket. It floats. You don't. This week on Tennessee Outdoor Journal, we'll start off with a turkey nest trail cam. Next up, Archery 101, rests.
Can't fall out of that rest. It's there.
The most popular rod, it's the most versatile rod.
And the real secrets of the Texas rig. And we'll finish off with a Drop the Tailgate, all about food plot preparation.
It's a simple process, costs a little bit of money.
Tennessee Outdoor Journal is opening the cover and inviting you in for some outdoor tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes look at the work being done by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Let's turn the page. What kind of legacy will we leave when our days upon this earth are gone? Tell me who will carry on this work that we've begun, care enough to be the keeper of the dream. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal.
Those eggs are exposed for about 6 weeks, really. First 2 weeks, the eggs are just left alone. They're being laid basically about one a day. She'll sit for 4 solid weeks. She'll get off a little bit to go and eat something, maybe get a drink of water once a day. But for the most part, she's sitting on that nest for 4 weeks. And so you just think about what's going on in a 4-week or 6-week period of time, how many things may come nearby or whatever. And so if they don't have good cover, that nest is never going to survive that 6-week period.
Well, I was actually out hunting on one of my properties, and I came across this nest. The hen had happened to jump off of it when I was walking by, and I just decided to look around, and I found the nest up on a mound of dirt in the middle of a block of timber.
If you don't have openings, they will nest in wooded cover. Usually it's going to be like near a bush or next to a fallen log or something like that that provides that cover.
This property, it's basically just a big 100-acre piece that it was logged years ago, so it's grown up with some undesirable trees, invasive trees, but it's just very thick. And the habitat is just mainly timber and cedars, but there's no grass, there's no fields. The nest was just in a great position with 2 big trees near it. I figured it'd be a good opportunity to put trail cameras up and just kind of see what she does on a daily basis. You hear a lot of hens, they sit on a nest for 28 to 30 days, but in reality, what happens in the meantime? You know, does she leave? How long does she leave? And I just kind of wanted to get an idea of that down to the detail, and hopefully be able to educate people by learning what I see on video. You know, she's being watched 24/7 on surveillance. I had 2 trail cameras I set up, and I figured it'd be a good opportunity.
But the key to their successful reproduction is habitat. They've got to have good nesting habitat and then good brood rearing habitat. And the closer those 2 are together, the better, because a hen nests and then she's got to move those poults as soon as they hatch into some area that would be good brooding cover.
She chose an area that, believe it or not, there's a logging road 10 yards behind her, behind this camera. You can't see it, but that's how I found her. I walked my logging road in and I busted her. So it's just 100 acres of timber. That's it. I've created a few food plots, but it's a work in progress. So her options were so limited. She has 100 acres. She has an urban area on one end, so we have houses, people. She's not going to go over there. The other end was a large estate, for example, and that person, that landowner, they cut clean. It's manicured property. Okay, there's no overgrown areas. It's big, large timber, so no understory can even grow. So she chose the best option, in my opinion, would be the timber. She found something thick. She found a mound in the timber to bring her up above. You know, she was higher than the forest floor, so she could see around. But all in all, you know, she chose a poor place. By the end, I thought maybe she had already hatched and they were probably gone, so I went back to retrieve my cameras and my cards. She would have an armadillo come through almost every night and harass her. She'd do great, she'd push the armadillo off. I've seen multiple possums come through, and then I've seen a couple coyotes through on the videos that came through, but somehow, some way, they didn't smell her, didn't see her, which is incredible to me. And then a lot of deer, believe it or not, a lot of deer would come check her out. Obviously, the one raccoon that did find her seemed to be the end all. All in all, the wild turkey, the odds are so far against them. You know, everything loves to eat them, and their habitat is being reduced daily. So, you know, trapping is going to be a great factor. Think about when you're farming, you know, be vigilant on when you're going to bush hog, and, you know, keep an eye on what you're doing and see what's in front of you in the tractor at all times. And always, you know, leave them as they are. You know, don't bother the nest as we do our fawns. You know, if you see a baby deer, let it go, let it do its thing. The mother's not far. But all these factors will benefit our wild turkey populations. If we can help our small populations, the large population, the whole state is going to benefit from it. If you're a hunter and you love to hunt these game species that we're talking about, you know, get out and try to trap. Get out and work on your habitat. You know, think about edge feathering. You know, if you got a field, don't cut straight. Don't bush hog right up to the woods.
If you're able to, and not everybody's able to, you know, they've got cut hay or whatever, but if you're in a position where you can wait to, you know, if you're bush hogging something, just kind of maintain it, then bush hog it in the late summer or fall, and wait and give that area a chance to be good nesting cover. And when you bush hog it the next spring, it's probably going to be good brood habitat. So, you know, maybe every 3 years you bush hog something, and you kind of in a mosaic, we call it, or, you know, kind of parts of it. Each year you mow part of it, and so then what you'll do is stuff that's 2 or 3 years old is going to be good nest cover. Stuff that just got mowed is going to be better brood cover, and then it'll be right next to each other. So you kind of created all that in one piece. The driver of turkey populations is really reproduction, and so populations survive or die by how well they can reproduce.
If you want to benefit your hunting seasons, in the summer, it's a great time to let wildlife do its thing, and don't manicure all your property. Let it grow up, because that's what wildlife needs.
Hey everybody, welcome back to our Archery 101 series. We're at the Archery Den with Logan White. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. Matt, his pro staff guy here, has been walking us through the bows, the arrows, the broadheads, practice techniques. We've done that with Logan here. We've done a lot of stuff, but today we're going to talk through the rest. So Logan, show us how to pick out a rest for your bow.
Okay, so there's multiple types of rest on the market now. There's going to be a whisker biscuit style, and they changed up a little bit. They went to a V+. The whisker biscuit that's on this bow here and in this package, the idea behind it is your arrow can't fall out. It's secured in there. You put the arrow in, you knock it, and it's there. It's a great beginner rest. The problems, there's a few problems. The bristles on these can bend, can get frozen and move, and that can create issues for your arrow downrange. Also, your arrow, when you draw it back towards the front of your arrow, is going to be sitting here. When you let it go, there's friction going to be created the whole length of that arrow, which we all know what friction does. It's going to slow your arrow down, take your velocity, take your kinetic energy away. So now we have fall away rest. There's multiple fall away rest. There's limb driven, there's cable. This is going to be one that attaches to your down cable. A lot of people are nervous about buying the fall away rest because they started shooting young, they're just getting back into it, or they haven't shot and they're afraid their arrow is going to fall out. Well, years ago, everybody just used a prong rest, and your arrow would fall out on your draw if you weren't, dead steady drawing it back. You didn't have a lot of room for a little bit of shake, and if you're like me and that monster standing out there, we're all shaking. So they've come out with the new design of the fall-aways, and they all have the bar over the top. And what I do, I knock my arrow, I lay it across the center of that, and then with the trigger right here, your rest sits up, and your arrow is locked in. It can't fall out. The bar's there. You can get a little bit of shake in your draw. It's still there. So if you forget to pull that trigger and raise that up, when you draw your bow back, the down cable will pull this up, okay? So once it's up and you don't shoot, you don't see a deer, or you just choose not to shoot the deer, you don't have to shoot your bow to get this to fall back down. You just simply flip that, it falls down, unknock your arrow, put it in the quiver, and you're done. When I'm saying the down cable, we've got one on this bow here. This cord is connected to the rest and tied into the down cable. So essentially we split that cable in half, put that through there, and then tie a knot in it. It's there, so when we draw it back, this is going to pull downward and it's going to create that to come up. So that what we talked about earlier with that bar going across the top, you knock your arrow, you lay it across there. So now we're in. That arrow can't fall out of that rest. It's there.
It's quiet too.
Yeah,
it's not rattling around.
It's not rattling. So the best part about a fall away is when you shoot it, it literally falls as soon as you let go of the bow. As soon as you let go of the string, that fall away gets out of the way. So there's nothing touching this arrow except the very beginning of the shot where it was sitting in the rest. That falls down, and now we have no friction. Nothing's touching your fletchings to kick it one way or the other. Fly straight down range.
Awesome. Well, really, no matter which one you want, you've got them here at the Archery Den. The Whisker Biscuit, the fall away, which seems like one of the better options for me, I would think. But
yeah.
Anyway, so it's all right here. Is there any other tips you'd say or want to tell everybody about the rest?
No, not really. I mean, again, it kind of like what they talked about earlier, goes back to price. We've got fall aways from $60 to $250, and then we have a couple different Whisker Biscuits or Whisker Biscuit style rest at different pricing as well. They're going to be least expensive. I think the top end is going to be around $60. So
awesome. Well, there you have it. Everything to know about the rests for getting your bow ready for the fall season. So keep coming back. We'll have more tips for you in the future.
Hey everybody, Jason Holland with Jason Holland Fishing, here to give you the real secrets on the Texas rig. Alright, so today we're going to talk about the Texas rig. The Texas rig is really the staple in bass fishing. It's a great way to catch big fish, it's a great way to catch a lot of fish, and you really can fish a Texas rig anywhere. And all a Texas rig is a bullet weight, a hook, and your soft plastic, whatever that it may be. Worm, crawl, lizard, a lot of different options. So let's talk about what you throw a Texas rig on. So today I've got a Cashin Icon rod. This rod is a 7-foot, medium heavy, fast action. 7-foot, medium heavy, fast action is by far the most popular rod. It's the most versatile rod. You can throw a lot of different things on it. So for all the new fishermen that are here in the state of Tennessee, if you're looking out to go out and buy some new gear, get you a 7-foot, medium heavy, fast action rod. That's going to be absolutely perfect for you. You can do a lot of things with it. Talk about the reel. This is a Lew's Tournament MB reel. It's a bait casting reel, low profile, so your hand can get around it, grasp it really well. And this is actually in a 7:1 gear ratio. All that means is that the more line gets picked up every time you turn the reel. So the gear ratio means how much line gets picked up as you reel it in. And this actually is a pretty fast gear ratio. Again, you want to pick up the slack Texas rig. So let's tie it. Got our leader line here. And we'll give you a couple different options as we go through this. So typically what you'll do is you'll just put on your bullet weight, slide it through, and then from there you'll tie your hook on. Pretty straightforward. Now we're going to give you a couple tricks and a couple tips that you can add to the process to make it do a couple different things. One, you can take a bobber stopper. And what a bobber stopper does is it allows to keep that weight next to your bait and not allow it to slide up and down. So bobber stopper, you isolate one of them. And then if you can see on there's a little hook built in, a little loop built into the process. And so you slide your line through it and then you just pull it up and here you go. You've got this little black bobber stopper. Now, from there, another option that you can do is you can put on a silicone skirt. And what that will do is make your Texas rig more like a jig. And so we're going to just slide it through the middle here. And there you go. That's how that will go on. So again, those are a couple quick tips that you can add to, little accessories you can amp up your game of the Texas rig. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to tie the basic Texas rig. We're going to pull our bobber stopper off here. So basic Texas rig, you take your line, go through your weight. Now, this weight is a tungsten weight. It's a 3/8 tungsten. Tungsten's really hard, very dense metal, and so it allows to get a heavier weight and a smaller profile, but also allows you to feel the bottom. You still have your basic lead weights, lead bullet weights. If you're just getting into fishing, they're cheap. You can get a bunch of them, get a lot of different weights, very inexpensive. So you can start with lead. This is actually a tungsten weight. So you slide your weight on your line, and you come back in, and you tie on your hook. Hook that we're using is a 5/0 Trocar. Huge fan of that product. But again, you can pick up any hook will work just fine as long as it's got this offset, and we'll talk about that in a second. So you tie whatever knot that you like to tie. I'm going to tie my granddad knot. Basically, put it on, make 6 turns, and then from there, you can see you go through the loop that you created at the bottom, and then all you're going to do is take that line and go right back through the top, the other loop. So that's what you got. Twist it 7 times through the bottom loop, then come back through the top loop. Moisten it, and then just pull everything snug, and then you clip off your tag end. There we go. Now, let's put on some baits. A couple different ones that I like to use. Missile baits, big fan of their product. Super soft, a lot of cool colors, a lot of great different options. But you can put on a crawl type bait or a creature bait. This is a great Texas rig bait. Or you can also put on a worm type bait. This happens to be a 6.5 inch straight worm called a quiver by Missile Baits. Really thick body, and it's got this tail that just flaps in the water and gives it a lot of great action. Check them out. Also, Torrent Outdoors is a local product based out of Tennessee, and they make a product called the Striker. It's a 6-inch bait, a lot like the quiver. It's just got a smaller tail, doesn't have that flapping tail. But again, Missile Baits, Torrent Outdoors, both great products to check out. You really like them. So let's rig it up. So we'll take our worm. Now, we talked about our offset hook. What that means, offset, is this little bend right here. And what this bend in the hook does, it actually holds your soft plastic onto your hook. Let me rig it, and this will make a little bit more sense. So, to rig, turn your hook upside down, go right here into the top, try to stay right in the middle of your plastic, and go up to right here where the hook starts to bend. See that? Here's where the hook starts to bend, and that is where you want to push your soft plastic up to. Now, from there, just push it out. It'll come right out the side. And from there, we slide it all the way up to this bend we talked about. Get to the bend and just keep pushing your soft plastic up all the way. I personally like to bury that hook eye in my soft plastic. Protects the knot, and just gives it another buffer as you're banging up against things. Now, we got to get our hook point in the bait. So what I do is I go down and figure out where the bottom of my hook is and where that matches up to the bait, and that's where I squeeze. From there, I'll take my hook point and I'll go right into that spot. And I'll push it through, and then there we go. So here's the next piece of it is, with this hook point exposed, we're dragging it through weeds or anything like that, have a tendency to get hooked up. If you take your soft plastic and push it up just a little bit and then pull it back, it buries that hook point in the soft plastic. And now, as I go through weeds, go over logs, limbs, or whatever, I've got a weedless presentation. It's a great way to rig up your baits with the Texas rig. So hey, thanks for joining us. Had a lot of fun going over this with you. Hopefully I catch some more fish for you. Where you want to throw these is anywhere that's got structure. Structure being logs, being could be falling down trees, could be rock, could be grass. Anywhere that there's structure, a Texas rig really shines. It's a really natural presentation. So tie one on, get out and go fishing. Get Jason Holland Fishing. Check me out on all the social media platforms. Love to connect with you. Got some really cool videos out there. Again, thanks to the TWRA for the opportunity to come out and give you the real secret on the Texas rig.
Hey, this is Donald Hossey with Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. We're here at Buffalo Ridge Refuge in beautiful Humphreys County. And today I got James Askins with the agency, works down here at the refuge, and we're doing something that's really, really important. I hope you've had a good hunting season this past year, getting ready for turkey season. Time to start thinking about our food plots. And before you turn any dirt and spend any money on seed, the number one thing you need to do, James, is...
Well, first off, we're going to have to determine what we're going to plant in this food plot. I mean, any plant could thrive in acidic soil. It could thrive in more alkaline soil. It could also thrive in a 7.0 neutral soil. So we got to determine whether we want to plant clover, corn, or what in this food plot. What you want to do is you want to go to your local UT Extension office or farm stores. You want to pick up a test kit, which constitutes this little bitty soil sample box, and you'll have a form that you'll need to fill out. And on the back, you'll have what you want to plant in this food plot for the season. That way you can code it, that way they know what you want to plant. Varying, it depends on clover, soybeans, or whatever you want. Nutrients will be different for what they determine will go in this soil. But what you'll want to do is you want to go, like this acre plot right here, you want to go and you want to start like, I'll take a sample on each end, on each corner, for 4 and maybe 2 in the middle. I'll take a sterile bucket, I will put all the soil in this bucket.
Tell me this, why is it important to do samples all across this food plot?
Well, your pH and your nutrients can be different from anywhere between the center of the field to the edges of the field. So what you want to do is you want to grab several different samples from like each end of the food plot to the middle of the food plot, put it all in this bucket, and you want to mix it all together so you can get an average reading for the whole plot. This is what you really want to do is you want to mix all these samples up that we've taken. I mean, mix it all up as thorough as you can get it. Make sure it's nice and dry, no rocks, no debris that you want to put in this box, just a good clean soil sample. Then you want to fold this box up, then fill out all your information on here, and then you want to send it off to UT Extension, your local farm store, and they will email you back the results, and you can bring it back to your local farm stores such as Co-op and everything, and they will look at the results on that sheet, and they will tell you what you need for pH balance wise, nitrates and all that stuff to put back in your soil.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it. When I get the results back, I don't know what I'm looking at. It's got all these different P's and N's and, different things, but the people at the co-op and the farm stores, you tell them, the acreage of your plot, and it's going to write the right recipe before you waste the time and the money. It's going to tell you exactly how much lime you need to put in the soil, how much fertilizer, and the right ratios, and boy, it makes a difference.
It makes a big difference. It could be too acidic, or it could be too many nitrates, and they can put whatever they need in there to be able to neutralize the soil to like a balance of 7.0 or something. That way you'll know that you'll have a good crop.
So if you're going to take the time and effort, I highly encourage you to do what we've done here today. It's a simple process, costs a little bit of money, but before you start spending a lot of money and wasting countless hours sitting in a tree stand, you need to make certain that you optimize your potential of this piece of ground. And that starts by getting your soil and getting your dirt the right way.
I'm Brad Miller, Elk Program Leader for TWRA. Did you know we do active habitat management for elk here in the state? We're currently at the Elk Viewing Tower, which is a place of active management, a 30-acre field that's used heavily by elk. We have approximately 80 elk that use this area, but we also have another 14 fields nearby, totaling about 85 to 90 acres within this small portion of our WMA. We do a lot of plantings, we do a lot of prescribed fire, we apply herbicide, and we create kind of a suite of management activities that elk can use throughout the year. Elk have different needs throughout the year, and we try to provide those needs.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Tennessee Outdoor Journal. We'll see you next time. Tennessee Outdoor Journal is produced by your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Tell me who will carry on.
Hi, I'm Charlie Daniels. When I was a kid, I loved baseball and football and all kind of stuff, but my favorite pastime was when my daddy would get me up early in the morning, we'd go hunting or fishing. Out in the fresh air, on the water, or back in the woods, and you learn a lot. You got kids, take them hunting, take them fishing. Join me. Buy a hunting or fishing license. Let's keep wildlife in Tennessee. That's a doggone good thing.
Buy your license today at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.